Good morning, good evening. Thank you guys for being here. So hopefully station one was super, hey Livia, super helpful. I know some people have, station one is interesting because it can show up mostly really when we have some pretty significant foundational things. So I'll see a lot of people that have like hip issues, which hips can be also station two, and we'll talk about that today. We'll see knee issues, ankle issues, that kind of thing. So I wanted to start off by saying you will please look for this. There's an email that's going to be coming out. Oh, I have my daughter's scrunchie on. There's an email that's going to be coming out in just a little bit that will be asking for your thoughts on the Manifest Your Dream Life Academy so far. I would be insanely grateful if you would just fill it out. It's just like a little survey. If you would fill that out and, give me some words, some feedback, and ask a whole bunch of it'll take like 3 minutes to fill out. But if you can look for that and fill that out, I would be so grateful to you for doing that. The other thing is you'll notice that I put into on our post today. So if you are dealing with pain and disease, I am actually tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Mountain Time, I will be doing live translations for anybody who's in my body language program. So the body language program basically teaches you how to translate the message behind literally any pain and disease that you could have out there, and you get group time with me where I can help you on the spot to translate what's going on. In pretty much I've dealt with almost every, I feel like I've dealt with almost every kind of pain or disease, but I'm sure I have not. And there's always a message behind it. And once you understand that message, oftentimes everything will shift. So I wanted to let you know that that is available to you. You can grab it right now because of being part of the Manifest Your Dream Life Academy for 50% off by using the code HEALNOW. You'll see that link on the post that I put in there, and I'll put another link up there just in case for those of you that want to do this. Then I think it's usually $222. It's down to $111 for you guys just for being here as part of this. That way you can get access to me being able to do those translations tomorrow morning. So if you need that, definitely jump in. It really is a compliment to what we're doing here, because oftentimes when you have an out of the flow station that's causing you life issues, it's also causing you health issues. So that allows me to be able to kind of give you a very complete package and allow you to really understand that pain and disease, that underlying pain and disease message. All right, so let's move forward because we've got quite a bit to cover today. Station two is pretty extensive because it's all those one-on-one relationships. We talk in station one about our individual relationship to the group. Now we're talking about our individual relationship to other individuals. And within every group, you also have an individual relationship with each other individual, right? So that is kind of an important one to think about, because a lot of times that's where we get into these patterns of choosing the wrong guy to date over and over again, or constantly having the toxic boss, no matter what you possibly could, no matter how many times you consciously say, I'm not going to have that kind of boss again. And lo and behold, you move jobs, it's the exact same person again and again. And why that is, as we've talked about, is because that station two is actually the underlying beliefs are programmed in to seeking out what matches your beliefs. So not your conscious beliefs, but your subconscious beliefs, right? Your expectations. And unfortunately, when those expectations are programmed in that the only thing really you deserve are these highly problematic relationships, highly difficult one-on-one relationships with bosses or other people, or even friends. I'll see quite a few clients that have patterns with friends, that they keep being sort of the friend that does everything for everybody else, but never gets anything back for themselves. Or if they need support, then poof, everybody's gone. That can also show up in station one, actually, if it's more of a group situation, but a lot of times, again, it can be that one-on-one. So that's what we're talking about today. We're also talking about birthing things. And we'll talk a little bit about, a lot of times people will have a pattern of really doing great on getting something going, and then they have this pattern of something stopping in an exact spot. So we're going to talk about that. What I want you to do as we talk about this today is to think to yourself, as we're going through, that sounds like me. or yeah, that's the pattern, right? So note those down, pay attention to where we're at sort of in the ebook as well. And that's going to really help you to be able to hone in on the workbook or the work that you really need to do, the practice you need to do to be able to start to shift this. Okay. So we're going to get moving forward. I can see I have some lovely thanks. Rachel, that's so sweet. She said, I took it last autumn. It's really good. Don't hesitate in signing up for the body language. Thanks. That is so kind. I do love it. That is actually probably work that I'm most passionate about because I can, in there, I really can shift people's lives substantially very, very quickly. It's really amazing how fast when your body gets the message that it's been trying to tell you through pain and disease, it is absolutely staggering to me how quickly that will pull back and that healing process will start. So I get to do that stuff, which is very, very cool. All right, so we're going to take a look. Let's get into station 2. I'll try to move through it pretty quick because it is pretty extensive. So my main goal here is we'll go through each of these, one a day, just so I can keep it moving forward pretty quickly. We'll get your personalized plans really defined. And then after that, we'll probably do some revisiting of these. So we can dig a little deeper into each kind of topic because there is so much here, but I want to make sure that we get at least an overview so you can kind of get into it. So let me share my screen. Here we go. Okay, so right here, as you can see, station 2, this is in the book, page 211 in the ebook. I should probably take a look. Let me see what page it is it's the same. Okay, cool. It's the same in the physical book. Okay. I always think it's going to be something different, but it's not. Okay. Station 2, energy of individual dynamics and creative power. So that is really what we're looking at today. Our power to create in the world. Location is sort of in the low belly. For those of you that know the chakras, it's the second chakra, station 2. Again, if you're preset with the negative station 2 beliefs, unconscious beliefs, you're going to see these kinds of issues. Now that said, a lot of times these more like aggressive ones. So it'll say, being in relationships with you feel powerless and unable to stand up for yourself. So you might have emotionally or physically abusive relationships, codependent relationships. That's a real common one in station 2. That's like people that get out of those relationships and then bam, the next guy they pick or the next girl they pick, same exact relationship, right? That's a common one. Now you'll see here bullying others or feeling a need to always control people. I will say that the one limitation that I have found in the program that I've created here and in the flow factor test, the flow factor test is incredibly accurate, which I'm very proud of. But the one type of person that it's not super accurate on usually is like a narcissistic type person. So most of the time, I don't really see people that come in that have these like more, controlling other people or bullying other people because narcissists don't know, they aren't exactly self-aware, and so most of the time it's quite difficult to catch those. So the more egotistical or like narcissistic people. So I don't think that's any of you guys, but I just want to tell you. So never finding lovers, friends, or business partners that meet your needs, difficulty or fear birthing your own creative ideas. So I'll see like artists that are like spectacularly creative and talented, and they keep getting stuck in a cycle where they just don't get stuff out there, right? Having others take your ideas as their own. This one's a key. Being in relationships where fighting is the norm, not the exception. We'll talk in a second, but relationships actually should not be that hard to work. It's like this constant, speaking of group thought, that relationships need to be hard work. I just saw somebody with an ad about like, oh, everybody knows relationships are hard work. And I'm like, oh my God. Anyways, having stifled creativity, which causes problems, raising, from like, you can't close new sales if you're a salesperson or grow your business, or having writer's block or having such a fear of rejection, you get stopped in your tracks. Things like not being able to meet your own needs. So you're not creating income that is commensurate with what you need or want in the world. Conflicted relationship with food. So again, there's like the group relationship with food. So you may take on some of the beliefs of your family around food. Like my husband, his family always like cleaned their plate. Like you had to clean your plate, and he never cleaned, like there was no like you're full, so you should stop. So he never cleans his plate. He just eats what he wants when he's with me. But the second we go back to eat with his family, I mean, it's like he has to you could put the plate back in the thing because everybody's plates are that clean. Like it's clean. That's just the group mentality, right? And it's understandable. There was like, they didn't want to waste and all that kind of stuff. But those kinds of things then can give you an individual conflicted relationship with food, okay? And also having negative or unfulfilling sexual relationships. So a lot of what we deal with here also in station 2 is our ability to receive pleasure, be accepting of pleasure in all its forms, right? And again, if you're brought up in certain religious traditions, a lot of times that can get very cut off from you. You have to do a lot of work here to kind of bring it back to being, because pleasure isn't just sexual. Pleasure is enjoying your life, allowing yourself to go get a massage, like that kind of stuff as well, right? And so you can see here, again, these are where you're going to get some body issues is, lower vertebrae, that pelvis area, hip area, sexual organs, bladder, your large intestine, your hips, your buttocks, your lower belly. That's where we're looking. So if you have issues in station 2, you may also have corresponding issues in your body. Okay, we're going to do this really quickly. Relationships should not be hard work, okay? We have been taught to believe that relationships should be really hard work and being able to stay together with someone and stay married. Again, you don't want to be married, that's totally fine. Or you want to, that's completely fine. But even if you're in a pod relationship or whatever, they should not be hard work. They really shouldn't, but we've been convinced that that's the case. And if I can do nothing more for the world than to help you believe and understand from a core perspective that you can have and should have and deserve to have unconditionally loving, easy, joyful relationships, then my work will be done at some level, because the world will be a better place if people just understood that we can and we should find relationships in our life that are joyful and flowing. Am I going to say that every relationship you encounter in your life is going to be joyful and flowing? No, it's probably not. But I'm talking about some key relationships that are going to be supportive of you. So when you're going out looking for your soulmate, and that can be a soulmate that is a personal relationship, a love relationship, or it can be a soulmate for like a business partnership, right? You still need that kind of flowing ease, back and forth type of thing. And I can tell you that this is not only very possible, but it happens. My husband and I will have been married 24 years this year, which doesn't seem possible. And a more easy, joyful relationship you could not possibly have. And I can assure you that was not what my relationships were before that. I definitely believed, and we'll talk about some of the patterns here, I definitely fully believed that the only thing I was going to find was conflict, jealousy, that like I wasn't jealous, but jealousy of the guys, etc. Okay. So I want you to truly, this is, if you believe that relationships should be hard work, you really have to dig in here. Okay. So if this is a belief that you're like, yeah, no, I do kind of believe that, dig in here. This is important. It's really important. This alone, if you can get this and retune this, it will shift everything for you, right? My husband and I talk oftentimes about how much easier our life is because we have that relationship with each other, that unconditional love, knowing you've got support no matter what. There's not, life can be stressful enough. So it's important to have the people around you that are genuinely uplifting you, right? So that's what I want. So if this is something that sounds like you, this is something that you really definitely want to work in on. And yes, I do think you'll find your soulmate, Livia. But here's where the work needs to be done. Okay. This is one of the areas. So just like in the group dynamic of the group being more powerful than you, or you being more powerful than the group, or being unconditionally loving, I want you to take a look here on the different dynamics that you could possibly have. This is where I want you to think about the individual relationships you have in your life. And I want you to start, and you'll see in the workbook area, or the practice area, you're going to see that I take you through a series of questions. And I really, if station 2 is an issue for you, I want you to make sure and promise me you're going to dig in here. Okay. Because once you have these moments here, everything else gets easier. Everything else gets easier. You have healthier boundaries. You don't accept the things maybe you've been accepting all this time. Your eyes are wide open to what's going on. It's just an empowering process. Okay. So this one you want to look at, the major dynamic one, the three basic power dynamics you see in one-on-one relationships. Then we're going to talk about some sub dynamics that I have a feeling you'll probably have some moments of like, oh my God, I do that, right? So major dynamic one, you are the authority in the relationship and you draw power from the other person. Now, that is usually for people that feel very insecure and they feel this need to control, or maybe they'll lose that person. That can come, maybe it was modeled to you. Maybe that's a modeling thing where you saw your mom or dad having the relationship either with their spouse or partner, or even, if they were divorced, perhaps multiple people. And so that can really be ingrained that I have to control this person. But the problem is you're detached from having an authentically loving, unconditionally loving relationship because you're so focused on controlling this person, right? So there's so much resentment, there's so much anger, and there's tons of passive aggressive behavior in this kind of a dynamic, right? And that's not fun. That sucks. The second one is the other person is in control of you. So the other person is the authority and they're sort of drawing power from you. Now, this dynamic, my friends, was one I definitely had for quite a while until I retuned myself and broke that. I was constantly attracting these very jealous, controlling, very dysfunctional relationships. I am a very kind person and I am a very supportive cheerleader type person. And I think, sometimes that becomes a moth to the flame kind of situation for people like that. Okay. That they just want to draw. It was they just wanted to draw all the goodness and happiness and joy out of me for themselves. But then there was really nothing coming back to me. It was very, they try to mold me and, I'm not a moldable person. So this was mine. I'm just going to be completely honest. I don't know if anybody else has had this one, but it's where you have somebody like that. Now, this is what we're going for, guys. Unconditionally loving. And as I say, it's completely possible when you dig in and do this work. So I want you to just consider when you're looking at the relationships, your one-on-one relationships with other people, start thinking right now. You can even jot it down if you've got a notebook. Which one of these dynamics do most of your relationships fit into? Which one? Okay. And so what our goal is you want to believe in and shift into the dynamic three, the unconditionally loving ones. All right. So now beyond these three major dynamics, here's where we dig in and take a deeper look, because this is how we hone into basically what your unconscious beliefs are over about your power and about your ability to create loving relationships. Okay. So subdynamic one. So we have the major dynamics. Now we're looking in, we're digging in a little bit deeper. What's our subdynamic one? Parental repeat dynamic. What does that mean? It means, are you playing out your parents' relationship in your own one-on-one relationships? Okay. This happens so often. You'll see people who grew up with this codependent dynamic of an alcoholic dad and the mom who scurried around trying to keep everything sort of nobody knowing what was going on in the outside world. And then lo and behold, this lovely person, this child who's grown up in this environment now goes out, and what do they find but a person exactly like their dad, right? Or exactly like their mom. They repeat that. Why? Because that's what you unconsciously believe is how relationships are and what you deserve, right? And unless we unwind that and shift that, that's what you keep finding. That's what you keep tuning into. Okay. So this can be great if you happen to have an unconditionally loving relationship being modeled to you. I hope with everything in my being, I'm trying to do this, that my daughter sees this and goes, yeah, that's possible. And that's what I deserve. I want her to have to use a friend's term, whoever her lobster is, whoever her mate is, her soulmate is, that she can find that and she believes it in her heart that that's what she deserves. Now, I'm sure she'll have some experiences along the way, but that's my goal for the long term. Okay, so if this sounds like you, I want you to jot this down, and this is one of the places you're going to be really digging in, reading through this, doing the work. Okay. The God complex, Lord. Okay. So I attracted a bunch of these. That's why I know this one. So the God complex dynamic is if you have a lot of people in your life that are it's my way or the highway, this is if you are attracting narcissistic people to you. I will tell you that if you're an empath, you have a higher chance of attracting narcissistic relationships. They absolutely love to find somebody who's kind and giving and who believes at some level that we are meant to help the world, which we are. But what they like is for us to give all of our energy to helping them. But then it's like, they're the one in control, right? It can mess you up very badly. If you have had narcissistic relationships and have gotten out of them, you'll know how long that takes to heal. So if you do have that, I do have some resources that I do recommend in digging into that deeper. So if you have this dynamic, you'll see this show up again and again in your life. It just can be this can be a very difficult one. The problem is that this essentially sets up an abusive, emotionally, physically, mentally abusive situation. So this is a key one to make sure that you pay attention to. And I will say, just to be very clear, this can also be outside of just personal relationships. You can have narcissistic, toxic bosses who think they're the gods and they're trying to beat you down. My husband worked at a very, very toxic workplace a couple years ago, and it was like, it's horrible. It will just beat down the people that are actually good people. And so it's very exhausting. Okay, the blackmail dynamic. This one is the person that you end up in a one-on-one relationship with somebody who knows just how to push your buttons, right? And it can be an extension of the last two we just talked about. It's basically like they'll start calling you selfish when you're asking for just like a simple thing being met, okay? Or vain. They know just how to hit you with that particular thing that's going to kind of cause you to bend to their will. And so that's one, a lot of times I see people and they're like, it's not that big of a deal. I can deal with it. You'll start to stand up for yourself and then they start pushing those buttons again. And you're like, well, it's not that big of a deal. I'll just give in. But the problem is when you're going against what's best for you in a one-on-one relationship, that frequency goes out into the universe and says that you really don't deserve what you really desire, right? And it becomes very, you'll see obligation being thrown at you, guilt being thrown at you. Again, this could have been modeled to you as a kid with your parents. It could still be being used. And so if that one sounds like you, there's a great book I actually really recommend. This one here, Emotional Blackmail, When the People in Your Life Use Fear, Obligation, and Guilt to Manipulate You. The next one is the helper dynamic. Again, this was one I definitely had. I also call it the I pick up every broken wing bird dynamic. I don't know if anybody's done that one, but I have done that. And you become sort of the knight in shining armor, the fixer-upper, the caretaker of this person. You see that person's potential and you're trying to help that potential come out. But the problem is, like, you can't be the only one seeing the potential. And what happens is you never get the satisfaction of using your power for creating the best life for yourself because you're so busy fussing around and trying to create the better life for that person. And that's a big one. So if you have this one, make sure you dig in here. The suffering martyr, oh my goodness. So you may have friends or you may do this. You may have people in your life that do this. They want to play the victim. So they keep saying that it's so bad and this and that, but what am I going to do? I have no choices. Oh, I'm stuck, right? It's that suffering martyr situation, right? It's like, no matter what, everything, it's like that constant thing. Like I say here, if others frequently say to you, you poor thing, after all you've done for him. I have a friend right now who keeps saying she has no choices, and she actually has about 10 solid choices, and they're not necessarily easy choices, but they're not any worse than what she's dealing with right now, right? And so we can kind of get into that. This is a way in one-on-one relationships, sometimes people can get that power of attention, because if they play the victim and like, what am I going to do? Oh, what am I going to do? They not only get attention from friends, but they maybe, depending on that one-on-one relationship dynamic, they get attention from the person they're with, right? So you can do this, you can be the martyr in all other places. But the problem is when you're doing that, or when you're in a relationship with someone that's a martyr, it drains your energy. And then also, if you feel like you're a victim, how are you going to attract any experiences in your life that don't just basically prove that you're the victim? How are you going to take your power and actually create what you genuinely desire? Okay. This one is really common for kids who've grown up in really difficult situations, especially if you were like the scapegoat kid and you had all your siblings were like the golden children. And again, that can come from that narcissistic family dynamic. And this is the gotta go it alone. I don't need anybody. I'm fine on my own. I don't need any help. So if you see yourself like you don't ask for help, or you just refuse to have a personal relationship because you're fine, you've got it, you got everything under control, you don't need anybody in your life, that's this one. And it's usually because you've never gotten personal support, you've never gotten individual support. And it's a very reasonable survival reaction to that experience, okay? So you may also just not want to be controlled, because if you had controlling people in your life, you may be like, you know what, forget it, right? So that one is important, because in order to find unconditionally loving relationships, you have to be able to let your guard down and trust that the other person can help fulfill your needs as much as you fulfill theirs, right? So instead of thinking you're the only one who can fulfill your own needs, this gives you that breath of fresh air, if we can shift it, okay? The wish fulfillment dynamic is when you expect someone else to make you happy. So you'll see this. I see this a lot I don't watch reality TV. So the snips that I get, however, of some of the reality TV things seem like it's a lot of dramatic people who are like, well, it's all about me. Like, you need to provide it for me. And it's like, no one else is responsible for your happiness but you. And so when I see those little snippets of things going out there, I'm like, oh my God, the dysfunction. And there's how you're never going to be satisfied if you think someone else is always supposed to provide for your happiness. We have to find that peace and happiness within ourselves. And once we do that, then we can create whatever we want, right? So this can happen. And you can also attract people who think that you're responsible for making them happy all the time. And if you want to know a way to run yourself ragged, go ahead and be in a relationship like that, where somebody expects you to make them happy all the time. You are going to be running around trying to not step on eggshells. It's just really exhausting. So if this is a pattern you recognize, dig in here, you guys. Make sure that you have that. Now, again, here's our dynamic we want, the unconditional love dynamic. So I want you to read through this, really, really get this into your being so that you understand that this is extremely possible. After this, so if you've noticed some of these dynamics showing up, you've jotted that down, come on down to these questions, and it's going to allow you to go through each and every one of these. Okay, so this is the parental repeat, and then here's your retuning statement you're going to want to use if you have that parental repeat dynamic. Okay, same thing for each one of those dynamics. They're right here, and you pick that retuning statement and you choose it so you can put it into your action plan. So obviously these are extensive, but I go through each dynamic and then I'm giving you an exactly created affirmation to retune that. Now, one of the things I want to talk about, we talk about the art of connecting, right? And we talk about how do we allow these things to flow to us, right? And so we have the ability to create and to choose the partner of our dreams at every moment. And again, that includes one-on-one friendships, personal relationships, partner, business partners, that sort of thing as well. Okay. So I personally can tell you this works because this is genuinely what I did before I met my wonderful husband. I had my best guy friend. I had broken an engagement with one of the dynamics above, I can tell you that. I broke an engagement, and I literally, one of my best guy friends said to me, Tara, you always date guys because they like you. When are you going to date somebody because you like him? And I was like, it was like a moment, because I think as a woman, you get asked out. It's just sort of the dynamic, like the guy asks you out. I don't know why that's always been the dynamic, but it has been. And so you'd think, yeah, the guy seems all right. Like, but should you be going for all right, really? But that was the moment where I thought to myself, wait a minute. So if you want to do this, this is a really powerful practice. And I realize that we're running long. So I may do half of station 2 today and half tomorrow, because there's still quite a bit. And I really want to get to the creating income stuff. And I don't want to run this too much longer than a half an hour every day. So let's do this one for sure. And make sure that this one is something that you guys really, especially if you have station 2 showing up, please do this. So what you want to do, so often what we do is we don't think about what would really fulfill us as a human being. Like, what's going to really, if you had a relationship, what would be really meaningful to you? Okay. And so you're going to write down, I want you to actually sit down and write out, what would you want? What would be the perfect relationship for you in whatever one-on-one relationship you're looking for? So if you're looking for a best friend, if you're looking for a business partner, if you're looking for a love connection partnership, okay? Write that down. Literally think through everything. It's going to sound crazy, but like think through everything. Do you like a more slender build person? Do you like, I tend to like the bigger guys. Like if you like, all that kind of stuff, like whatever, write it down, and mostly write down, like, what would you want to do with this person? Like what would be the things you guys would both enjoy? For instance, in my life, my husband and I both enjoy improving ourselves, constantly sitting down, like everything I talk to you guys about, I do on all the time, on a daily basis. I sit down, I'm constantly doing this because this is a practice. It is a practice. This isn't work. This is just part of how you constantly shift your life so you create what you want. We love doing, traveling. You guys have seen, I'm out and about hiking and everything else. And so those things are really important, and that makes a joyful relationship when there are things you have in common. Like a sense of humor was super important to me because I am very, very silly, and a lot of times people don't always get my sense of humor because I can be witty. I'll go with witty. And so, and I really wanted like that sense of humor and that sense of just personal confidence, but without ego, without this like, I got to show you, what I am, just being who they are. And those were the things that I worked on. I literally wrote this down, and I literally said, that is it. I'm either having this exact relationship or better, or I'll be single and I'll be completely fine being single. Like I really truly was at the point where it was like, I will be single. I can adopt kids as a single woman. I can do this. Like I'm completely fine on my own. I didn't need to have somebody in my life. Now, to go along with this, the other thing you need to do is to get really comfortable being on your own. So maybe you've seen people, I have someone in my life that I adore, but does this. They can't be alone. So they'll break up a relationship, bam, they're like, there's no time, there's no downtime. They go right back into something else. And literally, that is how you will get yourself in a spiral of just attracting the same relationship again and again, because you're never taking that beat to go, let me decompress from that situation. Let me kind of take a look at it and see what I wanted that would have been better than that, right? So when you have that need to kind of keep going and like you can't ever be by yourself, it's really impossible. It would be statistically very unlikely that you're going to find the exact right relationship for you by just turning around and jumping into whatever the next thing is. Okay. So instead, what I suggest is get really comfortable with being on your own, get really comfortable with doing things on your own. When I broke my engagement, I was like, that's it. I'm not dating anybody else for a while. After my friend had told me that, it shocked me. And I was like, you know what? I need to take some time off. I need to love myself. I need to figure out, what do I want and what do I want in a relationship? What am I going to accept and what am I not going to accept, right? And so at that point, I started doing things like taking myself to museums by myself. I went to movies by myself. I went and ate dinner by myself. I went to parks by myself. I did basically whatever I wanted to do on my own. And it was one of the most valuable things I could have possibly done. I encourage it for you as well, especially if you do have these patterns going on. Take a pause, disconnect completely from trying to find somebody. But in the meantime, you're writing this down, like, this is what I desire. And then you're going and doing things that are joyful for you just because they're joyful for you. Okay. In my case, I was like so sick of being like trying to explain to somebody, yeah, I want to go to the art museum. Can you just like, can we not have this big debate? Could we just go? And there's a real relief to being like, I want to go to the art museum. I'm going to go to the art museum, grab my keys and go. Right. And so it's really a process of getting super comfortable with who you are as a person. And then, and this is key, when you get all of this together, you write this all down, you decide exactly what you want. And for each of us, it's going to be so different. I would love if this is something you want to work on, please post it in the group. I'd love to see, what's important to you and support that goal for you. And so you're going to want to, you do that. And you literally, this is the key. you want to make sure that you actually say, I will not settle. I am not settling. Do not settle, right? It's either this person exactly or better, leave room for or better, or I'm not settling. Like, it's not going to be 10 of these qualities and these other 5 that I also think are pretty critical. Well, they're not there, but it'll be okay, right? This needs to be an exact match. And when you honestly remove any other possibility, the universe goes, okay, they're serious. All right, you know what? And I will tell you, so I took about 9 months-ish and did not date anybody, as I say, just went off on my own and really was like, I'm not settling. I did get asked out and I turned down dates for 9 months. I literally made a commitment. Nope, nope, I'm not dating anybody. Now, that said, I wouldn't necessarily, if you find the right person and you know it's the right person, then definitely say yes. For me, it was no, I really knew in my heart of hearts that I had some work to do inside to make sure that I did not repeat the dynamics that I did not want to repeat. And then lo and behold, 9 months later, finally, after my mom actually talked me into doing this, I got set up on a blind date. And sure enough, I looked at my husband when he walked in, and literally the first thought in my head, guys, was, oh, there you are. I looked him in the eyes. I remember him saying, hi, I'm John, and sticking his hand out. And I looked him in the eyes and I said, oh, there you are. Didn't say it to him. He'd be like, what? In my head, I was like, there you are. And that we talked for 5 hours. We shut down the restaurant. And literally I got in my car and I called my mom, not realizing that it was midnight on a Sunday night. And I actually said, I met my soulmate. I met my soulmate. This is the guy. This is the one I'm going to marry for sure. I could have walked out of the restaurant and married him in that moment. But the reason I knew that in my heart of hearts is because of all this work I did before. Okay. So when we are looking for somebody like that in our life, we got to do this foundational work to shift those underlying beliefs. And, then when you meet that person, then yeah, this is the one that I can partner with. This is the guy. This is the person, right? All right. So I've gone very long. We have actually quite a bit of, and I want to, this is a good one. We can retune any relationship right now. Okay. We'll get into that tomorrow. I'll stop here. We'll do the rest of station 2 tomorrow. Station 3 will probably, now that I think about it, possibly take us 2 days because it's all about self-worth and self-esteem. So we do really need to dig in on that. I hope that this was super helpful. I would really, really ask that if station 2 is in your numbers, please make sure you are doing that beginning part right there with all the questions. You pull those retuning statements, you put those down so you know that those are ones that you want to use in your personalized transformation plan, because those are going to be the ones that are going to help the most. And then if you are trying to attract the perfect one-on-one relationships in your life, please do this practice right here that I just talked about. And really do that commitment. I have helped other people go through this that have come to me looking for exactly this. And I'm just telling you, it absolutely does work. All right, so we'll end it for now. And tomorrow, let me stop the share. Tomorrow we'll keep on going. Oh yeah, Lord, it's me so tired of being a Scooby snacked and narcissist. Oh my God, Rachel, that's the best. I don't want that to happen to you, but that is the best description. It's exactly what it's what I felt like for a while. It was blackmail since birth. Yeah. So that emotional blackmail book, I think I have it over here. Yeah, I do have it right there. It's a really, really good one. Really helpful if that's something that's a pattern. And that pattern I didn't pick, they picked me. And I was like, I guess okay. That was totally me. Even when you've read it. Oh yeah. So yeah, that was totally me. I will say it was when I got engaged the first time, I remember being like, I guess it was just not, I knew in my heart of hearts it wasn't exactly right, but you're like, well, I don't know, I guess so. Yeah. So, okay. So we will end here. Let's pick up station 2 tomorrow. These are just really important. This is such an important station to dig into because a lot of people do have station 2. And as I say, I think we'll take 2 days on station 3 as well, because station 3 is such a core literally it's the core, but it's such a core part of you to be able to shift that underlying belief in yourself. Really critical. All right, thanks for sticking with me this long. I hope this is hugely helpful. If you've got station 2 in your numbers, please do at least this much work and pull those retuning statements for yourself. And then tomorrow we'll dig in, we'll do the rest of it. I've got some, as you can see in the next thing, I've got a really great practice on shifting relationships that are problematic right now. And also on shifting things like conflictual relationships or that kind of thing. There's some easy practices you can use to be able to change that. And anyways, those ones really work. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you so much for being here a little bit long. Hope this was hugely helpful to you. And please, please, please just know that whatever one-on-one relationships you have, you truly deserve unconditionally loving, wonderful, fulfilling relationships. You really, really, really do, and you can have them. See you guys tomorrow.